Welcome to Module 3, Video 2 of the Lead Quizzes Facebook Comprehensive Guide. I'm Lindsay, and joining me I have Donna Berry-Visor, Lead Quizzes co-founder. In this video, we're going to go over the different types of audiences that you can target on Facebook. Donna Berry, what are the different types of audiences that we can create on Facebook? And if you could dive into each one once we get to that point, and we'll show everyone how to do that.
All right, so look, when you're creating your Lead Quizzes Facebook advertising campaign, the audiences that are going to be the most effective for you from like our 2 years of testing are going to be custom audiences, lookalike audience, and interest-based audiences.
Okay, so let's get started with custom audiences, the first one that you mentioned. What are custom audiences and why are they important for us to use?
So custom audiences are basically anyone that's interacted with your brand in a certain way. When it comes to Facebook, custom audiences are anyone who visited your website or purchased something from you, and you got to make sure you have the Facebook advertising pixel on it in order to be able to do custom audiences based off of website visitors and pages that they viewed. You can also run custom audiences based off of your email list. So if you have a good enough email list, let's say over 5,000 people, you can upload that onto Facebook and Facebook will try to match up their profile with the email that you have on file. You can also do custom audiences based off of people who liked your page and people who've also interacted, people who have some sort of idea of like who you are, or they've just like ran across your page at a certain time that you were running different ads.
Okay, now when it comes to email lists, you mentioned a size of like around 5,000. So something I want to make sure you guys know is just because you have a list that size doesn't mean Facebook's going to be able to match up all of those because the email has to actually match with the email that they have associated with their Facebook account.
Yep.
So sometimes it can be, less than that. A lot of times it is going to be pretty close, but just keep that in mind. It can be a little bit less than that. So is there any other important information we should know about custom audiences? Like, are they, the best audience you found? Or are there other audiences you like better? And then we'll dive into Facebook and actually show people how to create one of these audiences.
Yeah, other stuff that you guys should know is like custom audiences. You can also do it based off of like phone number as well and Facebook profile ID. But the most common way to do custom audiences is through email. And the other thing you should know about custom audiences is based on our testing, custom audiences have always performed the best for us because it's people we've already been in front of and that we've already engaged with, and they sort of have some knowledge of our brand.
Now let's head over to Facebook and actually show these guys how to create a custom audience. Now when you create this custom audience, I always like to use Business Manager. Is that same with you, Donna Bray? Can you use it through regular Ads Manager?
Just having a Business Manager for your Facebook ad account is going to be the best thing for you to do in the long run. So setting up a Business Manager is pretty easy. When you create your Facebook ad account, Facebook also asks if you want to create a Business Manager as well.
Okay. Awesome. So now in order to get to this section, guys, that I'm on right here, your page might look a little differently when you go to Ads Manager or Business Manager, but if you see these little 3 lines at the top and you click up there and go to All Tools, then you're going to go ahead and see Audiences right here. So that's the section that we are right now. We're in Audiences. Now you'll have this little blue box right here. It says Create Audience. If you click on that, it'll tell you the 3 different types of audiences you can create. So that custom audience we were just now talking about. So we'll go there first. Now, if I click custom audience, Facebook gives us a couple of different ways that we can create that custom audience. So information that Donna Berry had already shared with us. Now, Donna Berry, do you want to walk through these? I know like app activity, I'm not sure that really is going to be necessary for us at this point or makes sense for us to use it, but can you talk about like the different ones on there?
Yeah, so customer file is essentially anyone that's interacted with you through like email, or you have their phone number or some other useful information that Facebook can use to match up with that particular profile.
So information you have already collected, you already have kind of in your database.
Yeah, and you want to upload that to Facebook and Facebook will try to do a match. Website traffic is when someone visited one of your pages on your website and you have the Facebook pixel on there and it's going to track that, and so Facebook is going to try to match up their profile with the website visit on your profile. So you can build a custom audience based on people who visited a certain page on your website or visited your website in general, or if they purchased something from you, like maybe they hit a thank you page. You can do a custom audience based off of that as well. App activity is not something that you need to worry about if you're doing a Facebook Lead Quizzes campaign. That's more for people who've built like apps that integrate with Facebook, and they can use that to like create custom audiences. Engagement on Facebook is someone who's engaged with a piece of content on your Facebook page, or if they've interacted with your Facebook page.
So maybe you like boosted a post, or you posted something that had kind of a viral effect to it. You're going to be able to get those people through the engagement.
Yeah, you're going to be able to create a custom audience based off of their engagement.
All right, so let's go ahead and look at customer file. This is what the majority of people are going to do first, that and website traffic. Now here they do give you a couple of different options. You can either choose a file or copy and paste that information. So if you just have a list of emails, you can copy and paste it or upload a CSV file. And then they also have import directly from MailChimp. So if you're using MailChimp, that's a really great option there. Now, if you choose the file, Facebook's just going to walk you through actually pulling up that information and then actually mapping it. Now, I've already created one of these. It can take up to 24 hours for that information to be matched up in Facebook. But basically, when you upload it, Facebook is going to be matching all those emails you uploaded with Facebook users to see how many count there. So if you look here where it says customer list, this is a list of customers that we uploaded, you'll see that the size is 1900. So our list that we had originally uploaded was a little bit bigger than that, but like Donna Bray had mentioned before, those emails need to match with the emails that they have in Facebook. So once that's done, we can actually use that in our advertising and actually target those specific people that are already on our customer list.
Yep.
All right, so let's go back into different types of audiences. Now, the next type that we use most frequently is lookalike audiences. So Donna Berry, tell us a little bit about lookalike audiences, what they are, and why we should use them.
So lookalike audiences are great when you're ready to like scale your lead quizzes, Facebook advertising campaign, and you've tapped out with your custom audience. And now you want to reach people who have the same similar profile to people who've potentially converted on your lead quizzes advertising campaign. So you can do a lookalike audience based off of a custom audience. So when you do a lookalike audience based off of a custom audience, what you're telling Facebook to do is, hey, Facebook, go out and find people who have the same characteristics and the same attributes as people who are in my custom audience bucket. And so Facebook's going to go and run their algorithm and through their user base and try to find people who are similar to the people who've either converted on the lead quizzes advertising campaign or they're in your customer list, and try to serve ads to those people. And you can create a lookalike audience based off of percentages. So you can do like a 1% lookalike audience. As you go out a little bit more, it's not going to be as similar to your list, but it just allows you.
Let's actually show you guys that in Facebook so Donna Berry we can kind of show while you're explaining that the different lookalike types in there. So you would create this the same way you did the custom audience, but you would select lookalike audience. So you had mentioned using a Facebook page, so we could go ahead and use our Facebook page as one of the lookalikes. So odds are if people like us on Facebook, they're familiar with us, and people that have similar attributes to them or similar likes as them, they're going to be more likely to click on us. So you had just mentioned this here, the percentage, and there's a percentage meter down here.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about this. I'm noticing as I'm going up that the audience size is bigger, so obviously I want a bigger audience size, right?
Not necessarily. You want an audience size that matches with your custom audience and it's going to convert. So just having a bigger audience size doesn't necessarily mean Facebook is actually going to find more people. The bigger the audience size, the less likely that those people are going to match with your custom audience.
So the less similar, like maybe instead of having 10 things in common, they have one thing in common or two things in common.
Exactly.
Okay. So what sizes do you recommend? You'd mentioned, 1%, 2%. Do you recommend we try a couple of different things?
I recommend always testing the size of the audiences. So when we do a lookalike audience, what we do is we'll do a 1%, a 2%, and a 3%. And sometimes we'll do a 5%, and we'll run ad campaigns based off of those audiences and test to see which one is most effective for us. And if they're all effective, that's great, because now it allows you to just scale to a lot bigger audience than before.
Now, is there anything else we should know about these lookalike audiences? I know just like custom audiences, it can take 24 hours for that list to be ready. So just be prepared for that. Know that you're not going to get that immediately. Facebook has to do a little bit of work behind the scenes. But is there anything else we should know about these lookalike audiences?
The last thing I would say is just remember, if you do a lookalike audience and you were doing a custom audience before and you may have not gotten the same results, it doesn't mean like the lookalike audience is not working. It may mean that you may have to actually redo your whole entire creative, and that's going to be more geared towards the lookalike audience, because remember, the custom audience, they kind of have some sort of interaction that they've done with your brand on Facebook or on your website or through an email list. So you may have to write copy differently in order to attract the people that are on your lookalike audience.
And something important to note with these lookalike audiences is that they continue to update. So you only have to create it once. Facebook's going to continue to search for more people that match those similarities that you kind of put in place there. You can also add in some additional interest targeting, which brings us to our next type of audience that you can do is the interest-based. Don and Ray, so tell us a little bit about this interest targeting audience, what it is, and when you suggest using it.
So the interest-based targeting is when Facebook basically categorizes all the things that you've liked on Facebook and brands that you've interacted with and websites that you've visited, and creates interest profiles on you that advertisers can use to serve ads to you. So if I like the New England Patriots on Facebook and I like Bleacher Report, Facebook's gonna put that as like all the interests that I like. And so if an advertiser wants to serve ads to people who like the New England Patriots, that ad's most likely also going to be served to me as well, because those are interests that I've liked on Facebook or things that I've indicated that I'm a big fan of.
So it's a good way to get in front of an audience that you think, hey, people like ESPN are my perfect person.
Yeah.
I'm not ESPN, so I don't have all of that information where I can create a custom audience, but I can create interest-based audience and get in front of a lot of those people.
Yeah, you can get in front of other people's audiences. So people who like you said, ESPN, people who like ClickFunnels, that people who like ClickFunnels are most likely online marketers, and they love to talk about funnels and stuff like that. So if you're targeting online marketers, going after people who like ClickFunnels would be perfect for you, because that audience is online marketer based.
Now, one of the easiest ways to make one of these audiences is using audience insights in Facebook. So we want to show you guys how to do that, how to create an interest-based audience here. So again, go back to your business manager or ads manager and click these 3 lines at the top. And then right under plan here, you're going to see audience insights. So if you go ahead and click that, it's basically going to pull up information like all Facebook users, and then you can narrow it down. So we're going to look at everyone on Facebook. Now, Donna Ray, walk us through audience insights and how it creates these audiences and what areas we should be looking at in here.
So if you look at the left-hand side right here, the first thing you'll see is custom audience. So you can actually do a audience insights overview on your custom audience. You're going to have a big enough custom audience in order for Facebook to run the data points on it and actually bring you back good results.
And I think Facebook requires at least 1,000 data points or more for that, right? The bigger the better, but
the bigger the better. But if you only have 1,000 person custom audience, audience insights most of the time is not going to return anything, because also Facebook wants to make sure that data is anonymized, so like you can't guess like this person.
So like if I have 3 people who like my page, Facebook doesn't want me to know like who these individual people are, what exactly they like.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I can kind of stalk them. Like they don't want that. But if you have like a big list and they can say, okay, well you got 10,000 people on here, we can give you a general idea. So like you can see here, age and gender, it can tell me, what is the likelihood that they fall in, like what age range, that sort of thing.
But if you're just getting started with Facebook ads, custom audience insights is most likely not going to work for you, because you probably don't have a big enough list yet and you're still growing it. So the next thing that you see is you'll see location right here, and the location is where you want the data to be pulled from. What if you're reaching countries like, let's say if you're advertising in countries like the UK and the United States, you can put all those locations in here. Audience Insights will populate data based off of that location.
So say we want to add in Canada because we want to be,
Yeah.
you know, US and Canada is what we could do. And it increases the size there at the top. And you can always see like what the size is going to be, and that's monthly active users. So it's how many people are active every month logging into Facebook that match these requirements. And right now the requirements we have is just, you know, US and Canada. So there's definitely more we can add in there. What about the next one, age and gender? What do you recommend for that? Is it just dependent on your industry, your product that you're offering?
So Audience Insights is more of like a research-based way to find the ideal audience that's going to be the perfect to target. So when you're starting out with Audience Insights, you want to leave the age range the way it is and actually move down to interest and actually start typing in like the interest that you're looking to target. So for example, if I'm trying to go after ClickFunnels users.
So we'll type in ClickFunnels. It looks like it's not big enough to go after ClickFunnels.
All right, so let's go.
Infusionsoft.
Yeah, let's go after Infusionsoft users.
All right, so we can see Infusionsoft right here. And if I scroll back up, then I'll see there's 250,000 people that are active every month, and that's just with that one interest.
Yeah, and those 200,000 people are people who may like Infusionsoft on Facebook or have visited an Infusionsoft website. Remember, Facebook is tracking you outside of Facebook, so they know what you're reading, and most online platforms nowadays have a Facebook tracking pixel on it or some sort of Facebook tracking pixel. So they're tracking the stuff that you're reading, the websites that you're visiting, and that's how they're also being able to group you into like interest targeting.
And once we put in that interest, you guys will notice that the age and gender here, it's switched quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So this light gray is going to be, you know, what the average is for Facebook users overall. And then the blue is going to be actually, you know, the percentage of the audience you're looking at that fall in that range. So if we look at this, ages 18 to 24, it probably doesn't make a lot of sense for us to advertise to them because it's such a small portion. So we really want to optimize our dollars and get in front of people that are going to be most likely to like that and most likely to engage with it. What are some other things that we should look at in here, Donna Berry? I see that there's connections here. Is that something, you know, there's pages. What exactly does that mean?
So you can also do audience insights based on people who are connected to your page. You're going to have a huge audience on your page, over 100,000 in order for it to pull up data. And also you can exclude people who maybe you don't want data from anyone that's connected to your page whatsoever.
So if I want completely new cold traffic, it's always a good idea to kind of do that, because odds are if you're doing interest-based targeting, you find a lot of users are interested in, say, Infusionsoft like we have here, then they might come up in this. So if we can exclude them, then you're going to be able to use those dollars a lot more wisely. Now, what about this advanced section here? I see behaviors, language, relationship status, education, lots of things there. What are some of the areas that we should be looking at?
It depends on what your objectives are. Are you looking to get people who are online purchasers, because you can do behaviors like people who've purchased online frequently. Are you looking to go after people who are in a relationship or are married? This is where you can actually filter your audiences by that, and it'll pull up data based off of like their relationship status. If they just got married, or if they just or if they're single, or if they've been working at a particular company for a while, or whatever their occupation is. So,
and with that, looking at the information that kind of pulled up here, that can really help us in adding in these additional targets here. So for example, you'd mentioned relationship status. So based on the group we're looking at, it says, 56% are married, so a pretty large population of those. 70% have a college degree or higher. Mm-hmm. So that might be some things that we could put in place, because those people might be more qualified for us. Some other things you can see in here, job titles that people have will give you the percentage of those people in that specific area. And then also, another good one is page likes. So you can see other things that they might like as well. So something that's on here is a Facebook business. So it could be good to get in front of people that are using Facebook if that's something that makes sense for your industry or for your business that you're doing the same thing with that.
And page likes allows you to build upon your first initial targeting. So if you know people who like Infusionsoft, also like Gary Vaynerchuk, you may want to add that as part of like your interest targeting to branch out a little bit more and increase your audience size. Or people who like Infusionsoft also like Facebook Business Manager, you may want to add that as a part of like your interest targeting, people that you can also go after, and then see what the overlaps are in order to improve your targeting, because just typing in Infusionsoft might not be good enough in order to get in front of people you want, but adding in additional targeting might help you narrow down your audience a little bit more and have you serve the ads to more engaged audience.
I'm glad that you mentioned kind of narrowing it down so we can go over how to do that. So typically when you add in another interest here, like take for example, Gary Vaynerchuk, our audience size is going to grow. So it jumped up to 1.15 million. But now if we go ahead and actually save this audience, then we'll be able to narrow it down a little bit. So we can just call this a test audience that we're going to save. Go ahead and hit save there. It's going to actually add it to the audience list that we were just on. So in order to get back to that, just click up here at the top and then head on over to audiences under assets. Now, once you're over here, Facebook will actually let you go ahead and edit that audience and kind of narrow it down a little bit based on the information that you've seen. So we have this one that we just created. It's an audience size of 1.4 million. To edit it, just click this little box, and then actions and edit. Now, Donaberry, can you show us how we can actually narrow that audience size to make it a little bit more targeted?
So at the bottom, if you scroll down right here, narrow audience, you'll see that right there. And you can actually put in an attribute of they have to like Infusionsoft, or they're interested in Infusionsoft and Gary Vaynerchuk, and they follow, let's say, Russell Brunson, who is when
we did that, we would have one at the top and then add another one. So we changed it from Gary Vaynerchuk and Infusionsoft to or Infusionsoft to Gary Vaynerchuk and Infusionsoft. So it's both of them. So before we had an audience size of 1.4 million. Now if we go up, it dropped down pretty significantly to 37,000.
Yeah.
Now you'd mentioned Russell Brunson too, so let's go ahead and type in Russell Brunson.
And it's going to narrow it down a little bit more.
So it actually increases the size because they have to like Gary Vaynerchuk and Infusionsoft or Russell Brunson.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different ways you can create a bigger audience size doing that. Now, Donaberry, what are some guidelines that we should follow when it comes to audience size? I know you mentioned before, like, oh, bigger the better, and you said not necessarily. So what are some ranges that you like to see your ads in? Can you still run ads to a smaller audience?
So if you're looking to go viral with your quiz ads, where you want to focus is you want to at least have an audience size of over 500,000. If you're looking to generate more targeted leads using quizzes, you're going to want to start like your audience size around like 40,000. You can have it go up to 100,000, but you want to kind of just stay within that range with your audience size. And you're going to have to just continuously test to see if the audiences that the leads you're generating on Facebook match with the audiences that you're looking to try to go after.
Now, something that I've been told is if you get, a smaller audience, maybe, 10 to 40,000, your cost can be a little bit higher. Why can that happen?
Well, you got to remember that the smaller the audience size, the more targeted it's gonna be. That's the theory behind it. And also, sometimes the audience size that you're going after, or the audience that you're going after, is an audience that's just expensive. That other advertisers are going after. So for example, online marketing or internet marketers. Other internet marketers are going after that, and they're willing to spend a lot more to go after that. So Facebook's bidding strategy, is like the bid for someone that's a lead that's in the online marketing space is going to be a lot more expensive than, let's say, someone that likes dogs or something like that. And also that audience is a lot smaller. Someone that likes dogs, that dogs versus someone that's in the internet marketing space. You know, there's very few internet marketers, but there's millions of people who like dogs out there.
Yeah, and Facebook doesn't want your newsfeed to be just ads, so they really try and limit the number of ads that you see, and that can also drive up the cost. So the fewer people you have to show those ads to, the more expensive it's going to be to show those ads to. So while smaller audiences can work, just know that the cost is typically going to be a little higher.
Last thing I would actually like to add is make sure you're constantly testing your ads and your audiences. Just because it doesn't work right off the bat doesn't mean that audience that you set up is not a good audience. It might just mean that you ran your ads on a day where it was just expensive to reach that audience, or your copy or your creative or your quiz needs some like reworking. So make sure you're always constantly testing your audiences, and once you figure out like the numbers and you figure out how to test it and convert at the rate that you want it to convert at, then you can focus on like scaling.
All right, so now we know a little bit about audiences. In the next video, I'm going to have Donna Berry show us how we can actually find the perfect target audience for us. So stay tuned for the next video where we're going to be helping you figure out what your target audience should be.